You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 122, and my name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram and 5cardguys.com. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards. And John is back this week, and he is Trade You at Recess on Instagram. Okay, off the top, what seems to be dominating the sports card social media feed the past 24 hours are breakers who are caught scamming on camera. And I just heard Whatnot just kicked out a breaker called the Retail King, who switched out a downtown football card. I'm sure you can see the video clip on Instagram, or I think it originated on Twitter, the person that kind of posted the video up. But I guess what I wanted to ask you guys is whether you think this is a prevalent issue in breaking still, or just a few bad apples here and there that's just being highlighted all at once. What do you guys think?
First off, I seen the video. It was blatantly obvious right. that like it was insane. He just literally just took it off camera and acted like nothing happened, which was crazy. Yeah. But I don't want that to ruin the breaking experience, because you hear these stories, but I don't feel like it's an ongoing issue, and they're usually, the majority is, they're for the hobby. They're not really bad apples, or I guess you're gonna find those bad apples is what I'm saying. So
sure.
I wouldn't necessarily define it, because I do know breakers that do this full time too, right? So they're amazing at what they do, and they have their own clientele, and places that have their own clientele tend to have their own fan base. So it's unfortunate that you see kind of like this in the hobby, but it definitely has to be policed in some way. So it's glad that you're it's extinguishing kind of like the bad apple there. So
yeah.
It's sad to see this news. I mean, I guess on the silver lining is all of those breakers that have great reputations. This is just going to further emphasize use people with reputation. And I'm sure all of these mini little bad news about scammers or whatnot is just going to flood people who are interested in breaking to, like a select, maybe handful of reputable breakers, which is great for their business. So in a way, it's a good thing. Bad for people like, let's say the three of us wanted to start breaking and wanted to kind of make a go of it. It would probably be pretty difficult, right? If you have no reputation at all and you're trying to get into it, and literally every other, no-name breaker out there is committing these fraudulent activities, it's certainly not a good look. So tough on the little guys, but it's helping, I guess, on a silver lining, it's helping the bigger guys. So I don't know. Either way, just seeing this kind of news just continues to, piss you off, or it's
right.
It's sad to see this stuff. But anyways, again, I think it's just isolated. I'm guessing it's not as frequent as people think.
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal thought as well. Like, we're seeing it all pop up because it's just like front and center now, right? It's like, oh yeah, this reminds me of another scam breaker, and then they're going to post that up at the same time, and it's just everything it's in the news, so to speak. But before this, like, I feel like we've gone a long period of time where it wasn't a thing every day.
You didn't really hear it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, right? But I just think it's not as frequent as people might think. And, to your point, John, I think it will help the bigger breakers, or the more reputable ones. And, like, I think Whatnot should be concerned. Like, they are the live streaming platform, and they depend on not just big breakers, but smaller breakers. And I know Whatnot has a big event coming up with the bigger breakers, right? But, if they want to grow the business, they're dependent on these smaller ones too. And I don't know. I'd be concerned if I was working at Whatnot in terms of like, how do we, grow our platform, but instill confidence from the consumer. And I think that's going to be a tough balancing act for them. So we'll see. But, like, I guess I've never heard of these breakers before today, right? So they are probably smaller breakers compared to, like, the Blez brothers and backyard breaks, obviously. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. We talked about the TikTok banning breakers, and I feel like since we last talked about that, 2-3 episodes ago, I heard that they're not banning all breakers, but you got to be like, I guess you got to be on their list to be able to do that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I guess that's one way of monitoring to make sure that, they know that the ones who are breaking on their platforms are more trustworthy or reputable. I'm not sure how they judge that. Maybe you have to apply for it, but that's one way of getting around it, I guess. So yeah, we'll see how things go on that front. It'll be interesting to see how things develop, but I guess we can all agree that we don't think it's as prevalent as it seems right now, but always good for the hobby to look out for one another when it comes to these things. And that's what's great about the hobby. You try to pull a fast one, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, you can't do it nowadays.
You can't do it. You cannot do it. And it's not worth it, man. The credibility, once you lose it, you're done. You're done as a business, right? So, all right. Before we get into our main segment, just quickly, thoughts on the WBC World Baseball Classic now that it's over, and the global ratings have been through the roof, and just from a hobby standpoint as well, do you think WBC cards, those Chrome cards, might grow in popularity? So yeah, what do you guys think?
Man, I don't think it's gonna have an effect necessarily, like directly on the hobby per se, but I do think it made a huge impact on baseball in general, like the baseball audience. So it's any way you could contribute in that way, it's a huge win for the sport of baseball. And everybody could agree, like people who are saying, the WBC is a waste of time. Honestly, like international baseball is all about winning. And this is the best baseball in the world. So it's like, this is what we as fans want to watch. I'm involved in that type of baseball consistently. So it's always intense. And because the whole thing is about winning, it's not necessarily about developing players per se. It's like you're representing your country and you literally go to war. Like that was the most entertaining I've ever seen baseball in a very, very, very long time. So for me, like it was a spark that got fans that normally don't watch baseball very interested, which is cool. So I think it helps indirectly the hobby in general with impacting the sport in a positive way. So it was a huge win for baseball, and I know a lot of people are already looking forward to 2026. And because of the internet too, it's like we didn't have this kind of like I was streaming every single game in my office. You know what I mean? It's like we didn't have necessarily those options in previous baseball and World Baseball Classics. 2017 was the last one. 6 years ago, things were different. Right. So it's like to have that on kind of like one platform, and social media being kind of like the main pusher of our kind of like society or our news feed pretty much. And you see WBC everywhere, right? So to me, honestly, like I was happy that it gave that spark to baseball, especially in March, because I'm pumped for the baseball season now. And I think just in general, like baseball as a whole, it's growing, or we're actually trying to grow the game the right way. And it starts from the top with the World Baseball Classic. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have written a better script than that. That finals was incredible. And I think even leading up to it, the narrative of like Trout facing Ohtani, I mean, the setup was there, and then to see it in the ninth inning, 2 outs, full count, ridiculous. And I think, like Hyung said, this gave a real good spark to baseball as a sport. And the great thing is that I don't think any, prior to this, a lot of people on social media, some, haters are dogging on World Baseball Classic, calling it a joke, calling it, whatever. No one cares about it. This is a waste of time, like Hyung was kind of mentioning. And I think this time around, it truly proved how, incredible this tournament can be, and how awesome it was to watch. And I think the subsequent years coming, people are going to be pretty excited for this event more than they were before. So I think it's a great thing for baseball. I think it did spark the hobby, because if it's going to spark baseball fans and sports like not even just baseball fans, I think it sparked sports enthusiasts. And if that's the case, then it should do the same to sports cards. And we talked about this. I think baseball cards, even leading up to this, were already sort of on the rise. You can see a lot of movement. The three of us here were looking to get some steals and deals, and it just wasn't quite going down as much as we wanted. And we start to actually notice it start to climb 15, 20%. So I think it certainly sparked the hobby too, and leading into the season, I think it's gonna be good. I mean, this is the three of us. We probably talk baseball the most, so we're a little bit biased, but we're excited about it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And you know what? Like while you're talking, I was thinking that baseball fans and baseball card collectors there's the closest correlation between those two groups than any other sport, right? We talk about before in past episodes, F1 fans and F1 card collectors. There's like I feel like they're two distinct groups. There are some overlap, but a lot of baseball fans happen to also be baseball card collectors. So to your point, John, I think the excitement of the WBC this year, definitely I feel like will spark the hobby from a baseball card collector standpoint. So it's exciting to see that. I think it was also exciting for the players. Like the players are also on social media, so you can really gauge their excitement and how they, Lindor says like, I'm ready to play in 2026 already. Like he's already committed. I hope he's stays top of the game for another 2 years for the Puerto Rican team to invite him back. But the players are amped, and I think USA is going to be really tough. I feel like that. This is just my thought, and I don't have any definitive proof for this, but I feel like the pitchers, the top tier pitchers for the U.S. team, they all sat out because they didn't want to take the risk, and they probably thought the WBC is like a glorified All-Star game kind of thing. But I feel like they probably got a whiff of the excitement and the attention that WBC brought this year.
Good point.
Because of what you said too, Hyung, about social media, like it's just in your face and it's there, right? The presence of WBC is there. So I feel like in 2 years you're going to see some big pitching names on the US, and then they're going to be a really formidable team, right? If there was any knock on the US team, it's probably their pitching rotation. But yeah, I think the players are excited to go back in a couple of years, and they'll be exciting to watch. And even by that time, who knows where the hobby will be. But I think baseball cards, again, like you said, John, it's on the rise now because of spring training. But I feel like as a whole, people are just getting really excited about collecting baseball cards. So hopefully that continues. All right, let's go now to hobby headlines. So I saw this news drop today. A lot of things going on in the hobby. Never a dull moment. But I saw this in the news, and it involves Fanatics again, of course. No, they didn't buy Upper Deck, not yet. And I don't. This news I'm going to tell you if you haven't heard already. I don't think it's the biggest product announcement in a generation they had teased before. Or is it? You tell me. The announcement is that Fanatics signed a 20-year deal with Winners Alliance, which is the for-profit affiliate of the Professional Tennis Players Association. And they signed a deal to produce tennis cards for the next 2 decades. And the cards will be made through the Topps brand. So we're going to have Topps tennis cards, essentially. So a few questions for you guys. First, specifically to this announcement, how do you think these cards will do when they're released? Do you think there'll be a lot of demand for them? And do you think something like this can grow the game of tennis? Let's start there first.
Man, I know initial thoughts are going to be like, what are they doing? It's another kind of like bust or whatever, because that's the traditional hobbyist, the way we think. But here's where I think things will be different. You have Fanatics running everything. Remember,
Yep.
their moves seem to be all calculated, and they seem to, really push the digital marketing kind of like narrative, right? So if you think about it, like even when F1 came out, you had basically Topps running their marketing. Right. And to me, they didn't have a clue what they were doing. Like Fanatics is a whole different ballgame. When they came up with that news release, they were mentioning that marketing was an area where they haven't even tapped into. So they're trying to target an outside market that's never been targeted before. So we always see it in a hobbyist standpoint, but they're talking about, we're not talking about the hobbyist. So from our point of view, it's always like, here we go again, another bust product. It's Topps again, trying to, make money or whatever it is, but it's different, especially if they're partnering up with the right players. And over time, they build, pretty much, that same supply demand with a whole different, targeted audience, essentially, right? I believe, it's great for the long run because it just creates more value in like the cards that we collect, right? So I think they're just making kind of like the whole system of card collecting, like a lot more organized and like a platform where it's consistent, right? And I think they're building it among all sports. And that's why another reason why I'm bullish on, sports cards in general is because you have a company like Fanatics that, is dumping a boatload of money back into kind of like the industry to kind of like solidify all these fundamental things that are needed to kind of grow our marketplaces, right? So I even though it's not like a huge, I guess, personal thing for me where I'm like typical hobbyist, like honestly, I really don't care. But I think in the macro picture, it is a bullish sign for me, just in general, just because I like where Fanatics is going. I like their marketing approach to it, and that's essentially going to bring more value to our collectibles.
Yeah, I can see that.
Switching back to just the product itself, I'm like the taking the news at face value, I'm pretty excited. I'm not even the big. I mean, I enjoyed tennis back in the day, and the sad part is we're kind of past the golden era of tennis. But I think it's going to be awesome, and I tennis fans, casual sports enthusiasts, we've been dying for a legitimate product. No knock on, or maybe knock on NetPro. I don't know, but for tennis especially, I think people have been dying for something like this. So to see, flagship Topps Chrome tennis come out, I think it's going to be hot. I think it's going to do really well. Now, some people might make the argument, name the top ATP top 10 right now. Name the top WTA females. Like, I couldn't name any of the top 10 other than maybe like, I'm sure, Djokovic is still up there. But when you think about it, I don't even think it's going to be about the top 10 current, because I don't think they can market that enough. I think it'll be, we talked about this before, underrated, overrated legends of the sport. Outside, the retired players. You're going to see like Pete Sampras Gold Refractor. You're going to see Andre Agassi Gold Refractor, like Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal autos, dual autos. Like, you're going to see that kind of stuff. And I think those Chase products are going to be incredible if they execute it well. So people probably aren't necessarily excited about the rookies and the current players today, but to go back and chase all the legends that that people enjoyed over the last 30 years, and to have the gold, red, super factor of these players, I think it's going to be huge. So pretty excited about it. I think it's going to do really well.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so for the reasons you guys both stated. And I think, who knows, like I feel like the game of tennis is growing too, internationally as well. And, this next generation might be into these younger rookies that we have no idea who they are, right? So, and they signed a long-term deal. 20 years is not a couple of years, it's 20 years, 2 decades. Right. So they obviously, I guess what you're saying, Hyung, too, they seem to have a plan to have committed to 20 years, right? So that's a bullish sign for me as well. I guess a follow-up question is, do you think there's a chance that it might go down the same route as F1 in that it comes out hot, like F1 had their Netflix series that got them on the map, so to speak, and then we saw what happened in the second, third year, kind of, I don't want to say fizzled, but definitely settled down. And you still have collectors that love F1 having come into F1 card collecting from the Drive to Survive series, but I definitely don't hear as much about them this year. You know what I mean? So do you think that's the same route that tennis might take?
I go back to kind of like Fanatics' marketing strategy. That's going to play the key role, right? Is because they're intentionally, marketing to a new set of group. This really hasn't been done before. Even when F1 released, right? We relied on, indirect form of marketing such as a Netflix series to basically push kind of like that market. And obviously, a lot of people bought with emotion, and that's what marketing essentially is, right? So I think it's going to change a bit from the way, like the old way of doing things. That's why I'm a little more excited this time. It goes back to that first statement I was making. It's you have guys that are marketing these products. So it's like the Players Association deal is huge. It's massive because now you have, everybody on board in terms of, the people, the athletes on tour. You have the partnerships with Topps, which is a known brand for collecting. They're marketing to the tennis world and the tennis fan. That's never been done before. So it's literally I think it's going to definitely help them be able to attract a whole different customer base in. And this is now intentional as opposed to kind of like the F1 was unintentional, like Topps, throwing whatever sticks on the wall, and it's like great, and they were on a bullish run anyways the last 2-3 years because of the pandemic, right? So I like where it's headed. Yeah,
it's good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. I think if you peel away the potential of what Fanatics can do from a marketing standpoint, just on the basis of that question, I think it's going to go exactly the way F1 did. I think that first product is the product to chase. I think the subsequent products are just not going to be as great because unless like some tennis phenoms, female or male, come into the picture for the following subsequent years for like a big chase, I think it's going to follow the exact trend line of being the initial release will be the hot product amongst all the releases. Now, there is that wild card. I think if Fanatics, and we're hoping Fanatics does a much better job of marketing, creating the product and making it in a way that's going to please the audience for the second, third, and subsequent years. If there isn't a rookie chase, if there isn't something including hits that can really bring people to the product, I think there is that wild card in play. But taking out Fanatics' potential marketing ploy, from a straight line perspective, I think it's gonna go exactly the same as F1. So everyone go for that first. Everyone go for that first series, and then subsequent, I'm sure it'll fizzle out.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening too. But it'll be the first set's gonna be insane. I think it's gonna be probably something I don't want to pay that much for, just because I'm afraid it's just the demand's gonna be so high. But I was thinking about this too. Do you think Fanatics should get into more of these niche sports? Like, how strongly do you believe in their marketing strategy that they could replicate this to like other sports, like even as small as, lacrosse, cricket, or rugby? Do you know what I mean? Do you think there's potential to grow?
I do think that, because here's why: technology. Okay, that we have yet to see the potential of blockchain technology still. So like think of experiences, for instance. We're like implementing these strategies kind of into our own businesses, but like an experience, like who knows what Fanatics is up to in terms of experiences or their access to memorabilia, the type of experience you're having. It's no longer just ripping packs and pulling cards, right? It's like attached with whatever chase there's a lot more to collecting or the hobby than just what we perceive to be, because I think we're still gonna find out, and I think that's why Fanatics can do a lot more. Their ability to create a whole different user experience, I think is the biggest thing, and that's how they get the niche marketplaces, because now it's bigger than just, you could pull a card and it's worth whatever the market dictates, right? It's like you got the actual diehard fans that are into this because it's a form of collecting, but it's also a form of experience. Like there's other chases that make it more valuable in terms of the user experience. So that's why it's like we have yet to see what Fanatics is able to do. So I think we're looking at it from one perspective, that card collecting is going to remain the same as it was the last 3-4 years, and there's no innovation on that front, which for me doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint. If Fanatics is going in there and spending this much money, they're intentionally saying we have something absolutely massive. They're intentionally targeting marketing and making it a point. So all these things, like I said, it goes back to kind of like, I believe that they can hit any market up at this point, because they're going to look at it from a totally different perspective than Topps and Panini were ever doing, right? Yeah. And with their resources that they currently have, who knows, if I'm the CEO of, Fanatics, I'm doing something crazy, something along the lines of, building a unbelievable user experience and collectible experience, right? So,
my opinion on niche sports, it really depends. I think the challenge, obviously, on North American side is to convince North Americans to watch a niche sport, when I never did previously. On the international side, Fanatics has to convince, not necessarily the sports, but has to convince people that sports cards, right? So you're trying to market sports cards on the one hand. Yeah. And for us, you're trying to market the sport. I think it's going to be a huge challenge to strategize around niche sports. Like, like you said, rugby, like cricket. These are monstrous international sports. But to convince the three of us to start watching cricket and to learn the players' names and to know the history and Hall of Famers and all of that stuff, that is a hefty challenge. So I think niche sports, unless it's a North American niche sport, trying to convince North Americans to start watching out of nowhere, like international sports or international niche sports, I think that's going to be probably a little bit out of their wheelhouse. So probably, they'll probably do something else niche, for example, like doing Jackass cards and like movie cards and stuff. I think that's going to be probably the better niche play than actual sports. But Yeah, no, good point as well. I had something similar to that. Like, I think they got to strategize by distributing maybe locally in parts of the world where the sport is super popular, but also to what you just said, John, the hobby is also popular. Like there's got to be kind of both. But I think that could, what Hyung mentioned, like with user experience or with like in real life experience to provide added value to the cards that they chase, might be of broader interest to people outside of the hobby a little bit, that might bring them in, right? So that might be a way to get people in. But I hear your point about like North Americans, getting them interested in niche sports. It might be easier for Fanatics or any other company really to go internationally where the sport is already popular, and then you provide these added value to the cards and get them into the hobby that way, and just kind of grow the hobby internationally. Like we already know it's huge in North America, like that's where all the money's at right now. But
it wouldn't be a bad business move to venture outwards out of North America and grow the hobby internationally too. So, So yeah, I think there's a play for niche sports, but more on an international basis. And then who knows, there's a lot of people that are from different parts of the world that live in North America now and that are growing every year. The demographics are changing all the time. So it could, over time, certain niche sports I could see gaining popularity here, but it'll definitely take time for sure. All right. Well, we mentioned F1 and just the whole Netflix thing. And speaking of Netflix, that's my segue. I just wanted to bring this up if you didn't hear already. On April 28th, Netflix will be releasing King of Collectibles, The Golden Touch, which is classified under reality TV. So I'm guessing it'll be a series on the hobby featuring Ken Golden, of course. Are you guys interested in watching? What do you guys think?
I think I am. Like I said, I'm big on where the hobby's going and how they're marketing it, and this is one form where Ken Golden is a pretty important piece in the hobby, a very influential person that a lot of celebrities and a lot of people in the hobby look up to, just based on what he's built in terms of his auction house and his influence within the hobby. So it makes sense. Somebody had to do it, and I'm glad that it's going to reach a lot more people at the end of the day, because this is part of the stuff that we're talking about. Is we need more eyes on the hobby to make it a sustainable and not volatile the way it is marketplace. So the more eyes on it, the better for me. Yeah. So I'm going to watch it. I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah. I think every hobbyist is looking forward to it. Maybe we're not optimistic that it's going to be amazing, but at the least, I think everybody is curious
Sure.
to take a look at it. So yeah, I'm very curious to watch it. So when it comes out, I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah, when it comes out, maybe the week or week after that, we'll devote a hobby headline segment to it to see how the show actually is. We'll trash it, or we'll say, oh, this is actually really good. But we'll see. I mean, Ken Golden, for one reason or another, he's a very polarizing guy in the hobby. You either love what he's doing with Golden Auctions, or you just hate the guy. Like, I've seen so many haters out there that and Ken Golden can't do anything right in their eyes, right? So,
yeah.
But the funny thing is, we're all going to the haters
exactly.
are going to watch it, just to get more kind of, I don't know, ammunition, just for their own social channels, and the people that don't mind him and like the hobby are going to be watching him. So everyone in the hobby, I'm sure, is going to be watching this Netflix series. The bigger question is, will people outside the hobby be interested enough to see, hey, what's this King of Collectibles all about? Which is what we're all hoping to as well, in terms of trying to grow the hobby. So we'll see, but we'll definitely devote at least one show to this series once it comes out late April. All right, let's move on now to our next segment we're calling Buy, Sell, Hold. We've done this segment before, and just as a reminder, for this segment, I'm going to give you guys a list of names, and you tell me if you're buying, selling, or holding their cards. And the common theme of the names on this list for today's episode is that they are all currently injured, and they're projected to come back at least a month or two, or even longer in some cases. All right, so they're injured guys right now, so it'll be interesting to see how we play these cards. Since baseball's coming next week, I'm going to start off by throwing three baseball guys to start the list. Jose Altuve, he's expected out and till at least June 1st, and I believe he got the injury in the WBC, right? So yeah, I think it's a thumb. But June 1st, Jose Altuve, what are you doing with his cards?
Man, I think Jose Altuve, first of all, gets absolutely no love just in general.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right.
Same with everybody on the Houston Astros. Alex Bregman, list goes
Jordan,
on, right? Jordan
yeah.
Alvarez, Tucker. There's so many guys that just don't get love, and Altuve is one of them. And if you're talking about future potential Hall of Famers, I think Jose Altuve definitely is one. And his cards are super undervalued in the first place. So I didn't know. And with that said, I don't have any Jose Altuve cards. But like I think he's a buy in general. I think from a long-term perspective, like there's a lot of like market corrections, like I said, that need to happen once people start realizing where collectibles are and the impact like these players leave on sports and where they end up in terms of the Hall of Fame career. You look back in past and marketplaces and extrapolate the data of future or past Hall of Famers, and there are so many opportunities where you could have bought, and you're like, the market's soft anyways. Nobody buys Altuve, and then in the long term though, those cards start disappearing that are super rare, and people aren't day trading the larger cards of these players that are superstars in the MLB. So for me, his market's so down in general for his talent. So I think there's a huge buying opportunity in general. So yeah, like I'm a buy for Jose Altuve because I'm in it long term. So, or at least I view him long term, not flipping. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to pack on to the Jose Altuve hating train, and I'm going to say sell. And I don't necessarily. I'm not a hater of Jose Altuve. I just think he is undervalued. And he is polarizing and I guess hated, but I don't see him coming out of that. That's my thing. I think Hyung is accurate in that he's probably on his way to a possible Hall of Fame career, but he's also not really moving the needle, right? He's not like a top 5 MLB. He's not wowing on a nightly basis. There's no needle moving. And I think even in the future, if he does get he's starting to go down Legends Row and he does get the announcement. And if he just continues his path of slow and steady path, I think it's just I don't feel like there's going to be any excitement card wise or investment wise for Jose, or like opportunity for investment. So unless you are a diehard Astros fan or a diehard Altuve fan who PCs him, investment wise for the rest of us, I think I would just sell while you can. Maybe there is a slight play on him, but I don't see it as much as Hyung, so I'm going to say sell all the way.
Interesting. I'm going to say, man, because I can see both points pretty evenly. And I'm just looking at his cards, like his 2011 Topps update, the base PSA 10, pop counts 3,200, right? So it's up there. But it's also $99, right? So, I mean, at those prices, it's why not just buy $99? But I mean, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't want to base. So I looked at like the Cognac Diamond Anniversary, the 2011 update, and of course that pop count's much lower, right? It's what is it? It's 116 PSA 10, and if you're gonna guess how much that is, PSA 10, what would you say?
350.
Yeah, I would have guessed 400.
Yeah, 410. So it's not bad.
That's
for
cheap.
Cognac. I'm buying at
so
that. You know what? Buy and hold. Might as well,
this
right?
guy has a 46 WAR, and he started late, and he's 32. He has a good 5-6 years at least. So I think $400. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah. So for the these more rare ones, maybe not the Topps update base, but the Cognac for $400. And if it gets suppressed even more because of this thumb injury, you're not even thinking, to Hyung's point, for Jose Altuve at least, it's not a short-term flip, right? He's played a lengthy career. Might as well buy it at these lower prices and just hold and see, over time. Hopefully he gets the respect that he deserves. All right, next guy on the list, I have Bryce Harper, expected out till at least end of May. I think, what was it, shoulder or elbow? One of the two. But yeah, he won't be back for the beginning of the season, but he will be missing at least a couple months. What are you doing with Bryce?
Man, for me, Bryce is super underrated too. Actually, he had a little bump in his price last year with MVP, and people don't realize, man, like he wins one more MVP, and he's still young. He wins one more MVP. He's tied with Trout with 3.
Right.
So,
and he could win one more.
And he's very realistic to win one more. Very doable, the type of player he is, right? So, for me, I think he's super underrated. But again, we went through a period where he had a huge bump after his MVP season. But I know prices have slowed down a bit on him, and especially with his injury. So I'm either a hold or a buy with Harper too. I've been a hold or a buy for the last year with Bryce Harper anyway. So
right,
okay. John,
I'm not a big Bryce guy. I think the two of you guys are bigger on Bryce than I am. But even with that, I'm gonna say buy, because we mentioned Altuve. Now we move on to Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper, number one, he rejuvenated his career over the last 24 months, similar to Manny Machado. I think they were both kind of got their big new contracts and then just kind of went to like dud, from stud to duds. And then I think they both rejuvenate their careers. And Bryce, I think a lot of people wanted to pick him last year or pick up some cards and they couldn't. And if you're in the market to buy Bryce Harper and have him long-term or not even long-term, I think Bryce, again, he moves a needle, so he has good opportunity for short-term volatility. So I think this is a great time to buy. I'm going to say buy on Bryce Harper.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me about Bryce Harper is he does get into these, he gets injured, right? And I guess you could say that same thing about Mike Trout, especially over the last 5 seasons. So I guess it's your confidence level. And I'm going to say hold. I believe in Bryce Harper's talent, but his health you just don't know which year he's going to play a full season. And when he does play a full season, he's obviously elite. But yeah, you just never know when he will play that full season. So if I have it, I'm just holding, just checking his prices. His 2011 Bowman Chrome, his first auto, prospect auto, PSA 10, last sold for $17.25. And last year at its peak, when he was playing really well, it sold for almost $3,000. So about a 40% drop, and it's kind of leveling out there. So yeah, I think it's still a hold. I'm not selling after that drop. I could see it easily go back to up to $3,000 with another MVP type season. Okay, one more baseball guy, Walker Buehler. Always considered an ace every year, but he's out till September 1st, at least September 1st. What are you doing with Walker Buehler?
How's his market? I like Walker Buehler. I think he's one of the best arms, in the National League. And, obviously for him, he's still young, but health is a huge question mark with any pitchers, right? And he could go back and pitch another 10, 15 years like he's doing, and it might be amazing. But I think there's so much time because he's a little younger. I don't even know how old he is. Yeah, I want to say he's 28.
28,
maybe?
Yep.
Yeah,
he's
27, 28. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he still has a few years in his arm, but I would imagine that his market is soft anyways to begin with. So I'm either I'm not big on buying Walker. So if I bought into Walker Buehler and prices are sideways, I'd probably hold. But otherwise, I'd probably sell and then wait until he establishes a bit more in his career before I commit to something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sell. Yep.
Yeah, Walker, is this the same injury, continuing from last season? Do you guys know?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so his market was...
Yeah, he only threw 65 innings, so...
Yeah, exactly.
His market was soft, and I think people were... Sorry, go ahead, Clark.
It was a forearm strain. I'm just seeing if it was a Tommy John, so that might be another reason why he's not coming back until the fall.
Right.
At least the fall.
Right. I mean, his market was soft to begin with. I think some people were high on him at the beginning of last season, and then he was riddled with injuries, and he missed the playoffs. He missed the playoffs, right? I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say hold too. If you have him, there's no point of selling on pennies on the dollar. And I don't think September 1st is a lengthy timeline. We don't know how hot he's going to be coming back. I think there could be a play because he could be back in the mix if for the playoffs. So there could be some, you never know, like a big massive spike from the playoffs. But for now, there's no reason to make any kind of move for Walker Buehler. So I'm going to say hold.
All right, it's an easy one for me. I'm selling. Sell. I actually had a Walker Buehler. I bought it raw 2-3 years ago. Got it graded. Came back a PSA 9. This is his 2015 Bowman Chrome Draft autograph, base auto. And came back a PSA 9. I think I sold it for almost $200.
Oh, nice.
And I probably broke even, right? With the grading fees and everything. So, pitchers, man.
Pitchers, yeah.
I always get burned with those damn pitchers. and I'm looking at his 2015 Bowman Chrome Refractor PSA 10 sold for $220. So it's coming down a lot. So yeah, I'm just, general rule for me now, unless his name is Nolan Ryan, I'm not buying a pitcher. Okay, so.
Hey, I will say I'm on a buy with Clayton Kershaw and Verlander.
Oh yes,
yeah. Like
Kershaw, yes.
It's hard to find cards that like a good Kershaw, for instance. So it takes literally like a year to buy a good Kershaw and Verlander. Yeah. So that's why those are the only pitchers that I would say.
Those Dodgers fans have Kershaw locked down.
Oh man, Frick, he's so good. Yeah.
True. Kershaw's always on my watch list, so yeah. I'm with you. All right, one basketball player and then one hockey to end off the segment. Chet Holmgren, OKC, second overall, got injured. Everyone was fearful of this happening, and it happened. It was almost like we manifested it happening. We shouldn't have thought negative thoughts, but he's been out. He should be back next season, hopefully. But Chet Holmgren, what are you doing?
I'm selling. I see a Porzingis type player at best. So it's like, you follow the markets, extrapolate the data, how Porzingis' market is. He's going to be a big chase in terms of, just the basketball market in general. So if you're, I would sell. A good time to definitely sell when, while there's still value left. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Me too. It's easy. I'm a sell. I'm not high on Chet. I think he can turn out to. I think that's a great comp. I think the upside is kind of like a good Porzingis, which is a great, like a really big NBA player. But based on the hype of him coming in last year, I'm not big on him enough to spend big money. So while he's still in that 3-year hype window, and I'm sure his cards are flattened or diffused from the hype to begin with, but I still probably will have to assume it's still hyped up. It's still a bit overinflated. So take advantage of that and sell. And if you really like Chet, I think in, maybe not next year, but the year after, when he's outside of that 3-year window, you could get back into him. But for the time being, I'm a sell too.
All right, Chet Holmgren. Wow, like with the hype, the upside wasn't Porzingis. The upside was KD. You guys didn't hear those reports?
No, that's
man, I could see that. Come on,
that's disrespect. That's disrespect to KD.
I'm in on Wemby though. Like that's the type of player I'd be in on.
Come on, I would say, same body type. Very skinny.
He's definitely a step down.
Oh yeah.
Come on,
you can
boys.
tell Wembanyama has like an actual. He is skinny, but he has a frame. Like he could build, kind of like T-Mac. If he were to build up muscle, Chet could be in the gym all day long, 24/7. He's still gonna have the same body.
Oh man, you guys are harsh, and I don't know if I'm just defending Chet because I bought he doesn't have a lot of cards. It's like Bowman next, there's not a lot out there for him yet anyway. But I did pick up one of his Candy Digital NFT cards, and
nice.
It's worth nothing now, right? I spent a couple $100 on them, and so for me, it's a hold. Like I might as well hold, and with all that said, with all my defense of Chet Holmgren, once he comes back, it has 5 decent games, I'm selling right away. So, I can't take the risk with his foot, and oh man, come on. I went against my better judgment picking up his NFT. So Can't win all the time. So Chet, sorry, holding, and then just give me a week. Give me one good week of basketball.
He's a sell.
But OKC, they're an exciting team, right? So hopefully he does something for them. All right, last guy for hockey. We could start with John first for this one. Cole Caufield.
Oh, you guys!
What happened to him? What was his injury? He's out till September 15th.
Yeah, I think he had a nagging shoulder injury, and then it probably flared up, and they just decided, okay, let's just shut him down. He'll be back. Cole Caufield's a buy for me. I've mentioned him before. He's a goal scorer, and he is one of the better goal scorers in the league, and he has that type of ability to score 40, 50, Rocket Richard Trophy type of player. So I think he is starting to slip out of that hype bubble. Next year, there's still going to be some hype on him, so it is going to be slightly inflated. But I think Cole Caufield, for Cole Caufield buyers, this is great news to see him go down with his shoulder injury, because you're going to see his prices go even lower than they should, and it's a great buying opportunity. So yes, he's a buy.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for a Cole Caufield to come back from PSA, because I just checked prices, and I pulled that out of just a hobby box of Upper Deck. So
which one? He's Young Guns?
No, just the Young Guns, and I was like, damn, it's $300 US.
Yeah.
For a PSA 10, I'm like, yo, I'm selling. But in general, I think John's right. Like, over the next period of time, if there's a good Cole Caufield, like an SPA or whatever, where price makes sense because people are selling, because there's more sellers than buyers, I think there might be an opportunity to snag something. But I think there's going to be I think his Young Guns is going to take a huge hit. You're going to see his price come down. So I'm a sell at that point, just in general, and with a future potential buy. I do definitely like what he brings, and he's still super young. He's 22 years old, still has a lot in the tank. So I just think the timing of it is a sell right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The sad part. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the sad part for Caufield buyers is that his SP Authentic is not even out, so you can't even take advantage.
Right.
And when that product
wondering
comes,
if it was,
yeah, and when that product comes out, he's gonna be one of the big chases, and his card's gonna be worth a lot of money.
It's gonna be hyped. Yeah.
Like if I wanted to buy Caufield, I would want the SP Authentic, and it's not available right now at a great time to try to buy him. So that's the sad part.
Yeah, someone that wants to buy it, like, it'll be over $1,000 for sure, right? So I was just gonna say his Young Guns PSA 10 pop count's 95, so there's not a lot of them out there. I'm surprised.
Wow.
But
surprised at that too.
March of 2022, so early last year, I guess that was his rookie year, right? Sold for as high as $800, and now, crazy. Like Kyung said, it's down to 300. But even then, it hasn't been a steep decline. It's kind of a natural, slow decline, and it's kind of stabilizing at 300. Looks like that's where that's where it's kind of settling at. So, I guess I'm a sell too. I think it could go down a bit further, but definitely, really curious to see what the SP Authentic Future Watch autos will go for. I'd rather spend a little bit more for that card. Okay, that's another round of buy, sell, hold. We'll do another round, I'm sure, in another future episode. Okay, let's end off our show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And if you're new to the show, this is where each of us will come out with a couple of cards or a couple of players, and then we just each debate which one we would rather invest in. All right, so Hyung, do you want to start things off for us?
Sure. I'm looking for a cheaper Soto. If I were to look for a cheaper Soto, and I narrowed it down to two, I guess when I say cheaper Soto, it's still expensive because Soto market's, pretty crazy lately. I think it's up like 20-30%, but a US 300, so 2018 Topps Update Juan Soto Rainbow Foil PSA 10 with a pop count of 392. Last sold for $470. Okay. Versus a 2018 Topps Chrome Update Juan Soto HMT 55 Pink Refractor PSA 10, which with the pop count of 748, sold for $609. You going with the pink refractor? I know John really likes this card, the pink refractor. Or would you go with the rainbow foil with the lower pop count and the cheaper price, but it's paper?
Yeah, this is like the classic 1v1. We've probably done this one a handful of times. And this was a personal one for me because I think at one point I was asking you guys for legitimate advice because I wanted
that was
to
when
buy
Soto. It was when it was $1,000.
yeah, that's right. It is a great price right now. I think the pink refractor at one point, sorry for people that missed out, but I think it was going as low as like 400, 450, something like that. And I'm sure the rainbow foil on the side was probably around 300. So I can see the arguments both ways. Like I can see the argument for rainbow foil. Like the pop count looks really juicy. Some people like the way the rainbow foil looks better. Honestly, it's a coin flip. It can go either way. I'm going to slightly go with the refractor because I just personally like Topps Chrome. I like the way refractors look. Long term, I think people just also like to search and like to have the word refractor a part of their collection, right? And it's tough to get the flagship image in a refractor because the pink is the entry, right? So I think even long term for a Soto refractor over the rainbow foil, I think even if you're just to pit the two parallels against each other, I think the refractor is going to hold bigger name value. So the pricing kind of shows, but I'm going to, 51 to 49, I'm picking the pink refractor.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, we've done this one before, I feel, and I feel every time we do it, I just keep changing my mind. I can't even remember what I did,
yeah.
what I chose last time.
I actually almost just changed my mind to rainbow foil, but I'm sticking with pink.
So I got to dig through our archives to see what I actually chose last time. Yeah. But I feel like I chose the rainbow foil last time because I had something against the pink refractor specifically, and that hasn't changed. And then I don't know if I knew this before, but the lower pop count at 392, the lower price point, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. So right. I'm going, the lower pop count, the lower price, and it might end up being a hobby logic thing where it just doesn't flip based on the lower population count versus the pink refractor. But it has a chance. I think once people realize, and although it's paper, it's still the same image, and rainbow foil just looks better in person to me too. So I'm gonna go with the rainbow foil.
Nice. I think there's like good opportunity for both. And the reason why I think a lot of people like the pink refractor, like John was saying, there's not a lot of parallels, right? Especially Topps Chrome Update, because once you hit the refractor, it's numbered to 250. And then you have your X-fractors numbered to 99. And then you have your colors, basically, right? Your gold and then orange and then red. And then your super, and that's the only parallels. And then from the paper side, you have rainbow foil and then Topps Gold, and then kind of like your paper parallels, your indies, your blacks, and your Father's Mother's Day, right? So like there's not a lot of parallels. So the pink refractor seems like the better choice. But for me, if it wasn't pink, if it was just a straight refractor, I definitely want it. But like something about that pink is not like, I'm not completely sold. Whereas me as a collector, I've had that rainbow foil Juan Soto PSA 10, and it's a beautiful card in hand. Like, right. Even though it's paper, it's like just so shiny. The way 2018 pops and the rainbow foil was a great year for rainbow foils. And like Clark was saying, the low pop count, and the 400 whatever and change, that the price point, I think it's a good marriage in terms of a good buy based on Soto cards, right? Because it's so tough to find, just any non-base Soto rookie card and put it part of your collection. So I think a rainbow foil at $400 is a great deal. So I'm gonna go with the rainbow foil as well. Although I think the PSA 10 pink is also a good one, but it's obviously a higher price point. So I just wanted to see what you guys would have done if it was like a $500 budget, and you're buying Soto. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Cool. We'll do this one in 3-4 months again.
It might change, yeah.
Yeah. See what the prices are then. Yeah. All right, good one. John, you want to go next?
All right, we're sticking with baseball. I have a very similar type of 1v1. We're going to go with the 2018 Topps Chrome Shohei Ohtani Blue Refractor, the one where he's pitching with the white jersey, versus, which is a PSA 10, which goes for around $2,500, the numbered Blue Refractor, versus the 2018 Topps Chrome Shohei Ohtani Sapphire PSA 10, which goes for around $3,000. Aesthetically, they both look very, very similar, other than a couple of like Atomic Sapphire graphic designs. One is numbered. The cheaper one is numbered. So, sorry, I forgot to mention, specifically long-term, for somebody who's looking to pick up one of these two, long-term investment, which one are you going?
I could go first. I don't know if this is another Hobby Logic thing to me. I'm going to go for the numbered one, and it's cheaper. So long term, I'm hoping the hobby will come around, say, hey, wait a minute. One's numbered, one isn't. There's manufacturer scarcity for the Sapphire, apparently. And although I like the look of the Sapphire, the blue is really nice. But, the photos that you sent for us to check out, John, they look identical. You got to hold it in hand to actually see the difference. Yeah. Well, the shine of the Sapphire in hand to really see the difference. So, and the blue, I'm sure, pops for the Topps Chrome anyway. So, $2,500, save $500 on a number card. Yeah, I'm doing that all day.
Nice. You know what? I was just looking. I had that blue Ohtani card. And I wish I had it still. I think I bought it at the time. It wasn't way different.
I remember
it was
that.
$1,600. Yeah. So
I was at the
had
show,
that.
right?
Yeah, I like that image. I think the long-term card for the Ohtani. I remember we debated this too, whether the red jersey versus the image number 700 in Top Series 2. It was kind of like his rookie card to have, and I remember I said I like the white jersey, where he's up tall. And I think that's the card to go to. So these are the two cards I would be interested in. But long term, I agree with Clark. I just checked the pop counts too. You know what? The Sapphire card's an amazing card. It's one of the cards that I would like to have in my collection. The pop count is at 102, so it's a little high, especially for that production run. That Sapphire set was like, it has Acuna, it has Glaber, it has all these 2018 chases, that especially that bat down image, right? And it was, I remember, they were selling boxes for like $2,000. So it's a super, super rare set. So the Sapphire Ohtani was a huge chase as well. But like I said, it's a pop 100. You're paying, $500 more for a card that has 50 more in existence. It virtually looks the same because it's both blue. But then on the blue side, it's a pop 50, and it's $500 cheaper. It's true blue. I'm taking that card all day. The blue Ohtani, 100%.
Yeah, baby.
Ooh, I don't know what to think. So you guys
I might buy it right now.
I know. You guys know I've owned the Sapphire before. It's a great card.
You did well though.
I did well on it. Yeah.
Nice.
My one knock on the Ohtani Sapphire is, if you guys, and for folks listening, check the images, but the 2018 Sapphire, you guys, a classic design, and you see those streaks kind of going upwards. And I first wanted the Sapphire because I so loved the Acuna Sapphire. And the Acuna Sapphire, when you look at it, and I didn't notice this until I got the Ohtani in hand, and I picked it up and I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, this is weird. Like, it was a bit underwhelming. And then when I went back to look at images, I don't know if people notice this, but the Acuna Sapphire has the Sapphire graphics on the entire card. Whereas for some reason, the Ohtani Sapphire doesn't have the Sapphire graphics on the streaks. It only has it above his head and like kind of going down the narrow of his body.
Yeah.
So when you actually hold the card in hand, it really is not that much different than the Blue Refractor. Whereas the Acuna Sapphire just is, the whole thing is just sparkling and it looks amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just a little, small nuance, but man, this one's tough. Like I think I have a soft spot for the Sapphire because number one, I owned it. I think visually, if you are a collector, the Sapphire is just so cool. Like the way the card looks. I think there is a point to be made, and this is where I'm struggling with. I think there's a point to be made because the Acuna Sapphire is just so iconic, and that's a little different because we're talking the SP and no parallels, etc., etc. But because the Acuna Sapphire has made this particular set and the graphic so iconic, it could potentially carry also the Ohtani at this point. And perhaps maybe Ohtani is going to start carrying the torch from here on in. Because you know me, I've been sort of knocking Sapphire over the last little bit. But it's tough. I think everything you guys say, the Blue Refractor makes sense. And I think I want to pick it. But if you're to just put both of these cards in front of my face, even a $500 more price point and a little bit higher pop, as a collector, Ohtani collector, I probably could not say yes to the Sapphire. So again, this is like a 51-49. I got to go with the Sapphire. Maybe it's a bit of bias, but I could see all the points of why you should pick the Blue Refractor as well. But yeah,
all right.
Aesthetically, I got to go with the Sapphire.
Yeah, could definitely see that too. All right, we'll end off with my pick one. Okay, I'm gonna change it from what I originally sent to you guys before because I just found out the final sale price of the 2011 Topps Update Mike Trout, the Hope Diamond Anniversary Parallel, PSA 6, but it's numbered to 60, just sold for $15,400.
Wow.
Right? And I'm going to put that up against the 2011 Topps Update Mike Trout Gold, which I believe there's only 50 PSA 10s. That's sold for $11K. So which one are you doing? $11K for the gold, or
you
the
already
Hope
know my
Diamond
answer.
For
I'm a big numbered guy. Like that Hope is the Trout Grail. Other than his Bowman Chrome, the Hope is the Grail. So it's
is that the lowest numbered?
It's basically the I would say it's one of the biggest chase cards as a Trout collector. You're looking for the Hope Diamond Anniversary Edition, and
clearly
for me, that's
$15K at PSA 6.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But that thing is crazy because I remember a Trout Update Black sold for like $35K, and that was like a BGS 8.5. So the Hope isn't a bad buy. I think it's just with these cards you just have such long-term value, in my opinion. You don't see these cards come up to auction quite frequently. Maybe the guy thought Trout was gonna have an amazing WBC, so he was gonna get a bump in kind of like that price. But I think I'm going with the Hope for sure. Like, although like the gold PSA 10, especially, I seen that card for like, I remember when it was so cheap, and the fact that it's like $11K, it's just like I can't buy into the gold PSA 10 at $11K.
I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden you're making me kind of switch my opinion. Okay, I'm gonna start from the beginning. So I'm not. You guys know me. I'm not a big. I do like Trout, but I've never really chased his cards, and I think most of that has to do with the fact that his cards are super expensive. But as a casual, I didn't even know what the Hope Diamond was. I guess that's how rare the card is. So for me, it's one of those like super rare Grail cards that I didn't know I was supposed to like. But now that Hyung is saying that it's the Grail of Grails, I'm like, oh, I actually do kind of like it. But with that being said, I think I'm going to speak to the masses of everybody that's like me. People that are looking at they can only really afford the update, the base card, and they don't really know of Hope Diamond and Cognac Diamond. They don't know the differences, and it's a little bit confusing because the naming conventions and the styles are a lot different than present day. So it does get a little confusing for like a casual. So I think for me, it's pretty easy. Like take a Trout Gold, and I'm assuming that's numbered as well for the year 2011.
2011, yeah.
Yeah. PSA 10, super liquid. Also, a quote unquote grail card for many collectors. I think me, it's a no-brainer. I think it could be just as liquid. Perhaps the hardcore Trout collectors are going to go crazy about the Hope Diamond in whatever grade, which is clearly true here in the PSA 6. But for the rest of us, I mean, the Gold Trout Update 10, that would be a card I would, be honored to hold. So, that's an easy one for me. I'm going to go with the Gold.
Okay. Yeah, both good choices. I went back and forth, but at the end of the day, and maybe I'm swayed by the comments because I put this up on our daily 5-Card Guys daily auctions page.
Oh, did you? I'm interested to hear what these people
just
said.
A lot of comments about like, whoa, you never see this card come up. You know what I mean? You never see the Hope Diamond anniversary. And that's why it's just getting a lot of buzz. And obviously being numbered to 60, there's not a lot of them out there. And so when it does come up, it's going to get a lot of attention. And that's why I'm going to choose the Hope Diamond as well. I don't love it. That 6, other people are saying in the comments, like it must have a huge surface crease on it. You just can't see it in the picture, but it's got to be there somewhere.
It's centered nice though.
It's not bad.
Nice.
Top
It
bottom,
has
left,
good
right.
eye peel. Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's a little, I guess, right to left, but in general, it's a beautiful card.
I'd prefer, to be honest, I prefer it in an authentic slab rather than a PSA 6. But at this point, I understand the owner because he doesn't want to crack it and then pay like a $1,500 grading fee to get it authentic.
True.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, So anyway, I'm going to choose a Hope Diamond just for its rarity and its beauty. Just looking at it, although the Gold is a pretty sweet card to have as well. Yeah. No doubt.
You guys are making me regret my choice.
Well, I feel like both choices are good, are valid. All right, well, that's our show. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cards to the Moon. We appreciate you guys. And as always, if you enjoyed the podcast and you haven't rated our show yet, we would love 5 stars from you wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, we'll see you again next week for a brand new episode. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5Card Guys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at Trade You at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.